with our flat 6 turbo here, EG33 swapped STI, we are going to be wrapping up hopefully the last of the body stuff in this video to get this thing prepped to go to paint next week. So that way they can repaint the rear quarter panels, get everything nice and good. So I got in the OEM side skirts that match the OEM front lip. I got in the OEM JDM splash guards for the rear bumper. Got the new fabrication material for the new intercooler piping, so that way it'll clear the front bumper. I want to get the rear quarter panels cut, welded, and seam sealed in this video, and as well as lower the car to the ride height that it's going to be sitting at. So that way in the next video we can get electronic power steering wired in and get the car aligned, because I need to get all of this stuff done before it goes to the body shop next week, because I'm just gonna drive the car on over there. The last video was a big W in my opinion, because we filled all of the holes on the car and got rid of them all. We swapped out the doors, everything in the doors. We got all of the rear holes in the quarter panels welded up, so I'm gonna have to go to the store, grab some body filler materials. A lot of people were suggesting like a glazing putty, some kitty hair, somebody said. Kitty hair. So we'll run to the body shop, and I'm gonna talk to them while I'm there also to see what they suggest. I'll take a couple pictures of the holes, so that way they can kind of just give me their best recommendations on this. So I got in the OEM STI side skirts to match our front lip, a little bit of vinyl wrap for the rear doors. I may have enough to rewrap the roof, I might do that. The JDM splash guards already painted World Rally blue, and then new fabrication material for the intercooler piping. So I think today we'll start off with these side skirts. They're relatively easy to do. It's going to be very similar to the front lip. There's one. I was a little worried about the front flare coming down and interfering with it here, but it doesn't, which is good. I knew it would be a problem down here, but I don't think it'll be too big of a problem, because as the flare starts to come down, there is one riv nut behind this in the side skirt that it needs to connect up to, but this has enough play behind it where it can poke out a little bit, so that way this will also hold the flare down, so I think that'll work out in our favor. The other one that's going to be a little bit of an issue is the rear spats. When they go up here, you can kind of see the line right here from where my old one was. So we do have one riv nut here, but I think the way that I'll do this one is get the spat on and then just drill a through hole through the flare piece and then run the flare. So I think I'll just get it mocked up temporarily and just tape it on, test fit the flare, and then kind of see how we're looking on that. It's not gonna work. The big reason why it doesn't work is this front portion. I tried cutting off one of the tabs I wasn't using on the flare to see if this would bother me. Technically it fits, but there's just a gap. The gap will bother me, so I'll just get the USDM spats to go underneath of it. It's not a big deal. I like these JDM ones, but flares or spats, I choose flares. So now we're gonna jump to the super arduous task of cutting the rear quarter panels after literally just fixing them. But that's okay, because I'm gonna be keeping the flares long-term, permanently, to be honest. I kind of really like the flares. So we're just gonna kind of bring this up probably just along this body line here where the old arch was, and then just kind of bring it down. We'll leave the secondary skin behind, so that way we can cut tabs in it, fold it up and over, weld it up here to this other tab with a hammer. I can take this tire off, so after we get things cut, if I need to get in there with a hammer, I definitely can. So we're gonna have to grind off some paint. It's a good thing this thing's going to the body shop next week. All of this will be covered, but I'm gonna have them paint over all of the seam seal and everything I put here, so that way it just obviously looks better, more professionally painted underneath of there. So let me get some masking tape on here, find my line, and let's start cutting this thing up. So we've got this side pretty much ready to be welded up. I'm gonna cut all the tabs once it's welded, so we'll run in here with a MIG welder, MIG the outer skin to the inner skin, kind of like how it was from the factory. The factory just had these rolled over. I've seen a lot of wide body or fender flare kits where this is not done properly, and then everything will start to rust and eat away. So once this is welded, we'll cut the tabs, we'll grind everything nice and smooth, seam seal over all of the welds, and then this will get painted with the rest of the quarter panel when it goes to the body shop next week. That's the biggest benefit of doing this right now, is that way, since this panel's already getting painted, they can just paint right here also to clean things up. So, woo! I gotta wait for Fab and Dab to come. I don't have a MIG welder. I could probably TIG this, but, you know, to be honest, MIGging it'll probably be just a little bit better, but MIG has a lot of splatter, so try to control splatter as much as possible. But sick. Done. I'm gonna go through, clean these up a little bit more. I still gotta cut this tab down here, bend it up and over. Same with this bottom corner down there. So I got this little corner cleaned up back here just to show you guys the difference in gap. Just keep in mind that that's just fender liner, so that tucks up. So we've got a decent amount of clearance now for the tire once this is welded. Now we're gonna do the same thing we did to the other side to this side. I'm gonna get it jacked up. We're gonna get it cut on that line right there, going down, get the area cleaned up of paint, go ahead, get all the tabs bent up, and get this thing ready to be welded. So I've got all the tabs and everything bent. I cleaned them, I ground them down, cleaned it with acetone. I'm gonna give it an attempt at TIG welding. I'm gonna see if I can at least just tack these in for now and see if I can get Fab and Dab to weld them later. He's just not here and I wanna get this going. So if I can't do it, then I'll obviously stop, but never hurts to give it a try, right? I mean, what's the point of learning to weld if I don't use the fucking skill? Oh my goodness, we have one side done. It is cut fully welded, fully seam sealed, so the seam seal is going to cure overnight. We still have to do the other side. Fab and Dab, or Dustin from Fab and Dab, had to go run out and do some stuff, so we still need to fully weld up this side. I'm just going to let him do it. He was having a much easier time than I was when it came to welding a lot of these tabs up. It's just this sheet metal is so thin that it's so easy to burn through it, and I just don't have the technique yet or the control. I was able to get a good portion of it done today, but he was able to knock out what I did in a matter of like a half hour. A couple precautions that I took, because somebody did mention this in the last video with TIG welding, is the frequency. And when I was doing some reading on this, the frequency on aluminum is what can do damage, a lot more damage to electrical components versus steel. So we have the battery disconnected. We've got the car literally grounded from the chassis to the ground itself. I've got the main engine harness disconnected. I've got the ECM disconnected. I've got random grounds pulled off of the frame rails to ensure that we have no electrical damage. So we should be pretty solid on that. I'm not too worried about any electrical interference. I talked to Dustin about it also, and he said in all of the cars that he's welded, as long as the ground is in the area that you're welding in, you're pretty well controlled. The only time it becomes a bigger issue is if you ground right here and like you're welding up there or something along those lines. So I'm not too worried about it. Now that we're on hold from doing the other quarter panel until tomorrow, I do want to jump up here. We're going to go ahead and lower the front suspension down probably about a ½ an inch, and I would like to pull out the negative camber because we had to run that last time. So we'll pull out the camber, we'll drop it down ½ an inch. We should be good on the front. Should still clear the flares. I wish I could bring caster back a little bit, but I'm gonna need to get some LCAs to be able to control caster like that, but so I got the negative camber pulled out of the fronts. I have them lowered down to, I think I pulled out ½ an inch or so. I'd say that's pretty perfect where it's at right now for just how it's aligned. I'm gonna have to adjust toe on it. It has probably about a degree of camber left in there, but I'm not stressing it too much right now. Both sides look relatively the same. So now we're gonna jump over to the rears. I'm gonna go ahead and toss this rear flare on and be, fuck, I don't know if I can, because I got this. Is this seam steel? No, it's tacky now. Okay, I'm gonna toss this flare back on, adjust this side, get it lowered just a hair. I don't think I'm gonna lower it as much as I lowered the fronts, but I'm gonna lower it just a little bit. Much better. Usable. I'm good with that. So last night I ended things by getting all the suspension set up with the exception of this corner. I want to wait until all of this is done on this side. I went over to the auto store this morning and I grabbed what I think is everything that I'm going to need to be able to repair these areas here. So I snagged a whole bunch of different varieties of sandpaper, some spreaders, brake pad for the surface conditioning disc so that way we can feather everything out, some dust masks, some like a sanding block, like a micro sanding block, some body filler because this is all they had. They didn't have any glazing putty and we're using such a thin layer that I think this will be okay. And then also some sandable high fill primer and then a new tube of seam sealer for the other fender. So I'm going to start things off over here probably with this one and start with the scuff pad on the die grinder to start feathering some of this paint out. We'll do that with all of these holes, and then once all of those are kind of feathered out, we'll start with the sandpaper to get it a little bit smooth, jump over to the body filler, sand the body filler down, and then get back with the primer and then sand one more time, and I think that should be it. This is my first time doing something like this, so I'm probably gonna make a mistake, but that's all right. That's the whole point of learning, right? Before I show you this, I want to preface this with I am so new to bodywork that this is the first time I've ever done bodywork. I believe I'm doing it right. I'm taking the area that we welded a plug in, expanding the paint or removing the paint around that a little bit more, using a little bit of body fill, like a very thin layer of body filler, blending the body filler into like the painted areas so that way it's a smooth transition. Once that dries, I sand it with 180, then 320, and then repeat as needed until it feels smooth. Then from there, I'm putting primer on and sanding again until it all feels smooth. So I'm either making more work for the body shop or less. I don't quite know, to be honest, but I mean, it feels like a baby's ass. It's like smooth. Like I said, all of this is brand new to me. It looks like I just ruined this quarter panel, but I mean, there used to be holes and there's no holes and you can't really tell there were holes anymore either, but everything just feels smooth. Like there's a small bump right here that I'm not gonna be able to get rid of from where the plug is, but it's so unnoticeable. Like, I don't think it'll show up through paint. Same thing up here, both of these holes, can't even feel that they were there. These ones back here are definitely giving me a little bit more trouble because this is the first one that I attempted to do without any plugs and I just tried using filler rod. It was a terrible idea and it made this area so much more worse that I heavily regret it. I put a little bit more body filler on here and on there because there are a couple spots that when I put the primer down, I could heavily see that there were divots in a couple spots. So I'm gonna let that sit. I found that I've been rushing the body filler, not letting it cure. The bottle says like 15 minutes, but I'm gonna give it like a half hour. So while that cures, I'm actually gonna come over here and weld up this quarter. Fab and Dab let me borrow his MIG welder, so I'm just gonna MIG weld this side. It won't take me nearly as long. So I'll probably put the car back on the ground, take this wheel off, and then use that welding blanket I have to try to cover up some of the door area. I can grab this one. I have a smaller one if you prefer that.
You know, when that guy from Beauty and the Beast said try the gray stuff, it's delicious, I don't think this is what he meant, but...
No, this was way too much. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
All right, this quarter is cut, MIG welded, seam sealed. The seam seal has to cure, so I'm not gonna mess with any of these because I don't want to get any body filler dust in the curing seam seal. But the other side, this is hard, you guys. Trying to get everything the way it was factory. This is, like I said, this has been the worst mistake I've made on a car. Look at that, it's so bad the camera doesn't even want to focus. I'm joking, but up here, I feel pretty good about up here. It's pretty smooth, feels pretty nice. Back here, there's one bump that I just can't seem to get out. And down here, there's a couple small spots with the body filler. This is with 2 coats of primer on it, so look at that, you can see it right there and right there on the camera. Up, everything else looks good. So I think what I'm gonna do is just leave it like this. When I take it to the body shop, I'll point out, I'll be like, hey, can you guys smooth down this spot a little bit before you respray the quarter panel. But for the most part, the holes are gone, they're body filled, they're smoothed out. This side, I'm calling done for what I'm doing to this, because I don't like bodywork. I'm not good with bodywork. Bodywork scares me. As you can see, I'm mediocre at best with bodywork. The other thing that I just wanted to check and verify was that we didn't fry any of the electronics, and we look all good. The Haltech power's on, the stock dash or the stock cluster and everything powers on, so it doesn't look like we damaged anything from any of the TIG welding. So it looks like me grounding the vehicle out the way that I did worked out in our favor. So the checklist of crap has gotten significantly smaller with the STI. Rear quarters are cut, welded, seam sealed. 1/4 panel is bondoed and sanded. The side skirts are on. And we lowered the car to where I wanted it to. It's just, dude, bodywork is so fucking time consuming, and it's such a wizardry process that it confuses me. So I think I might just have the body shop just finish up this 1/4 panel. They have a ton more experience than I ever will with doing that. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to mention, after this car gets painted, we're solid, we're done. It's good to go for the dyno. It's good to go for braking miles. If you guys like the video, you know what to do. Go and hit that like button, turn your black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver sign, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be able to do one of these, go to no idea which one quite yet. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.